Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the reading of Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. I'm Mrs. Singler, the speech pathologist at Medalon Intermediate, and I'm super excited to be reading to you chapters 12 through 15 tonight. So, if you don't already have your book open, go ahead and grab it, open to page 57, and we're going to go ahead and get started reading. Will everybody please line up behind that far desk in front of the children's room, said Dr. Zinchenko, gesturing toward one of the wooden tables in the outermost ring of the room. How many of you are familiar with Mr. Lemoncello's classic board game, Hurry to the Top of the Heap? 12 hands shot up. Very good, said Dr. Zinchenko. Overhead, the Wonder Dome dissolved into a gigantic heap box top. This will be a live, three-dimensional version of that game. Each of you will be asked a trivia question. If you are able to answer it correctly, you will roll the dice and advance the equivalent number of desks. That's the same as equal number of desks. When you return to the starting point, you will move into the next concentric circle of desks. When you complete that ring, you will move into the next, and so on. If one of you makes it all the way to my desk at the center, you will be declared the winner. Okay, guys, I'm going to head back to that word concentric. So that just means a bunch of rings of circles, and each one's going in the side of each other. So they're saying they're going to start on the outside circle, and then when they finish that one, they're going to go the inner one and inner one, kind of like a bullseye. Think of it that way if you can put that picture in your mind. We're going to head back to page 58. Sorry, needed to describe that. But we don't have any dice, said Yasmin Smith-Snyder. Yes, you do. See that smoky glass panel in the center of the desk? It's actually a touchscreen computer currently running Mr. Lemoncello's dice rolling app. Simply swipe and flick your finger across the glass to toss and tumble the animated dice. Dr. Zinchenko placed a stack of red cards on her desk. She looked like the host of a TV game show. Before we begin, are there any questions? Charles Chiltington raised his hand. Mr. Chiltington, what will the winner win? After all, the prize is the most important part of any game. Kyle didn't really agree, but he was too excited about playing the game to say anything. Tonight's first prize, said Dr. Zinchenko, is the golden key granting the winner access to Mr. Lemoncello's private and very posh bedroom suite up on the library's third floor. Instead of spending the night on the floor in the sleeping bag, you'll be relaxing in luxury with a feather bed, a 72-inch television screen, and a state-of-the-art gaming console. Okay, Kyle was definitely interested in this particular prize. Judging from the wide open eyes and chorus of oohs and wows all around him, so was everybody else. Dr. Zinchenko flipped over the first question card. What major league pitcher was the last to win at least 30 games in one season? 6 players got it wrong before Kyle got it right. Denny McLain. Correct. He swiped the glass panel, rolled a 10, and advanced 10 desks around the room. What United States Navy ship was once captured by the North Koreans? Miguel nailed that one. The USS Pueblo. He flew 12 spaces around the room. What did Apollo 8 accomplish that had never been done before? Akemi, Andrew Peckelman, and Kayla Corson struck out on that one. But Charles Chiltington knew the answer. It was the first spacecraft to orbit the moon. Correct! Chiltington rolled a 5, landing him in last place. Kyle's next question was tougher. Who was famous for saying, "Book 'em, Dano"? That guy on Hawaii Five-0? Please be more specific. The one with the shiny hair, Jack Lord? That is correct. Kyle breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness he and his dad sometimes watch reruns of old TV shows from the 1960s. But when he flicked the computerized dice, his luck hit a brick wall. He rolled snake eyes and moved up 2 measly desks. For those of you who don't know what snake eyes are, that is 2 ones on the die, so they look like the 2 eyes of snakes, and so that's why I only had to move 2 desks, or only got to move 2 desks. Meanwhile, Miguel went down with a question about Barbara Streisand. Kyle wasn't exactly sure who she was. She was a singer, but she still is. She's a little bit older though. And Charles Chiltington surged ahead with a correct answer about the Beatles, another old music group. Hey Jude, that's the name of one of their songs, and a double sixes roll. As the game went on, Kyle and Chiltington, the only players still standing, kept answering correctly and moving around the room until they were both seated at the desk in the innermost ring, only 6 spaces away from Dr. Zinchenko's desk and victory. Kyle was seriously glad he and his mom had played so many games of Trivial Pursuit with the original, extremely old cards. Kyle, here is your next question. What song in the movie Dr. Dolittle won an Academy Award? Kyle squinted. He had that movie, an old VHS cassette tape that his mom had bought at a garage sale. Too bad they didn't have a VCR to watch it on. But even though he'd never seen the movie, he had read the front and back of the box a couple of times. Talk to the animals? Correct! He started breathing again. Roll the dice, please, Mr. Keeley. Kyle did. Another pair of ones. He moved up 2 spaces. Now he was only 4 desks away from winning. Mr. Chiltington, here is your next question. Who was elected president in 1968? I believe that was Richard Milhouse Nixon. You are also correct. Chiltington didn't wait for the librarian to tell him to roll the dice. He flicked his fingers across the glass pad. Yes! Double sixes again! He moved around the last ring of desks, tapping their tops, counting them off, even though everybody knew his 12 was more than good enough to carry him to the finish line. Congratulations, Mr. Chiltington, said Dr. Zinchenko, as she handed him the key to the private suite. You are this evening's first winner. Thank you, Dr. Zinchenko. I am truly and sincerely honored. Congratulations, Charles, said Kyle. Way to win. Get used to it, Keeley, he answered in a voice only the other kids could hear. I'm a Chiltington. We never lose. Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of chapter 12, and I think that Mr. Chiltington may have kind of served a little bit of, I don't know, not niceties to the other children. It sounds like he expects to win from now on. Well, let's just see what happens in chapter 13. I'm kind of wondering myself. Chapter 13 starts on page 62. What happened next was extremely cool. A holographic image of a second librarian appeared beside Dr. Zinchenko at the center desk. She looked a little like Princess Leia being beamed out of R2-D2 in Star Wars, except she had an old-fashioned bubble top hairdo, cat's eye glasses, and a tweed jacket with patches on the elbows. Here to present our official library lock-in rules, said Dr. Zinchenko. Is Mrs. Gail Tobin, head librarian of Alexandriaville Public Library back in the 1960s when Mr. Lemoncello was your age. Overhead, the Wonder Dome had shifted back to its 10 Dewey Decimal displays. How old is she? Asked Sean Keegan. She'd be 110 if she were still alive. But she's dead and working here? Let's just say her spirit lives on in this hologram. Mrs. Tobin's the one who helped Mr. Lemoncello so much, Kyle whispered to Akimi, when he was a kid. I know. Her hair looks like a beehive. Kyle shrugged. From what I've seen on TV, the 1960s were generally weird. Welcome, children, to the library of the future, said the flickering projection. Dr. Zinchenko will now pass out Lemoncello Library floor plans, your map and guide to all that this extraordinary building has to offer. Your new library cards will grant you access to all rooms except the Master Control Center, the red door you passed on your way in, and, of course, Mr. Lemoncello's private suite on the third floor. Charles Chiltington dangled his gold key in front of his face. I believe you need this to enter that. Mrs. Tobin ignored him. She was a hologram. That made it easier. Security personnel are on duty 24 hours a day, she continued. During your stay, all of your actions will be recorded by video cameras as outlined in the consent agreements you and your parents signed earlier. Are we going to be on reality TV show? Asked Haley, smiling up at the tiny camera with a blinking red light. It is a distinct possibility, said Dr. Zinchenko. I like television, said the ghostly image of Mrs. Tobin. Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In is my favorite program. Returning to the rules. The use of personal electronic devices is strictly prohibited at all times during the lock-in. The security guard, Clarence, and a guy who looked like his identical twin brother entered the rotunda, each of them carrying an aluminum attaché case. That's like a briefcase or a little suitcase. Kindly deposit all cell phones, iPods, and iPads in the receptacles provided by our security guards, Clarence and Clement. Your devices will be safely stored for the duration of your stay and will be returned to you at the conclusion of our activities. Also, you may want to use the desktop pad computers in this room to comb through our card catalog and conduct internet research. However, these devices cannot send or receive email or text messages, whatever those might be. Remember, I retired in 1973. We still used carbon paper. And now Dr. Zinchenko will walk you through the floor plan. Everybody unfolded their map pamphlets. As you can see, said Dr. Zinchenko, fiction titles are located here in the reading room. The children's enrichment room with soundproof walls is over there. 2 fully equipped community meeting rooms as well as the Book Nook Cafe behind those windows where the curtains are drawn. Also located on this floor. Upstairs on 2, you will find 10 numbered doors, each leading into a chamber filled with books, information, and, displays related to its corresponding Dewey Decimal category. Kyle raised his hand. Yes? Where's the Electronic Learning Center? Dr. Zinchenko grinned. Upstairs on the 3rd floor, where you will also find the boardroom, the art and artifacts room, the IMAX theater, the Lemoncello Abilia room, the... Can we go upstairs and play? Asked Bridget Wadge. Wadge. I want to try out the space shuttle simulator. I want to learn how to drive a car, said Sean Keegan. A race car. I want to conquer the world with Alexander the Great, said Yasmin's Miss Snyder. Apparently, everybody was doing what Kyle had already done, checking out the available educational gameware listed on the back of the floor plan. Early access to the Electronic Learning Center will be tonight's second prize, said Dr. Zinchenko. To win it, you must use the library's resources to find dessert, which we have hidden somewhere in the building. Whoever does the research and locates the goodies first will also be the first one allowed into the Electronic Learning Center. So use your wits and use your library. Go find dessert. Everybody raced around the room and sat down at separate desks to start tapping on the glass computer pads. Well, everybody except Sierra Russell. She spent like 2 seconds swiping her fingers across a screen, wrote something down with a stubby pencil on a slip of paper, then wandered off to inspect the 3-story tall curved bookcases lining the walls at the back half of the rotunda. Kyle watched as she stepped onto a slightly elevated platform with handles like you'd see on your grandmother's walker. It even had a basket attached to the front. Dr. Zinchenko? Yes, Miss Russell. Is this safe? Because the book I want is all the way up at the top. Yes, just make sure your feet are securely locked in. Sierra wiggled her leg. Kyle heard a metallic snap. It's like a ski boot, said Sierra. That's right. Now use the keypad to tell the hover ladder the call number for the book you are interested in, and hang on tight. Sierra consulted the slip of paper and tapped some keys. The bottom of that platform you are standing on is a magnet, said Dr. Zinchenko. There are ribbons of electromagnetic material in the lining of the bookcases. The strength of those magnets will be modulated by our maglev computer based on the call number you input. 2 seconds later, Sierra Russell was floating in the air, drifting up and to the left. It was absolutely awesome. The hover ladder must use advanced magnetic levitation technology, said Miguel, seated at the desk to Kyle's right. Just like the maglev bullet trains in Japan. Maglev or maglev? Maglev? I think that is maglev bullet trains in Japan. Cool, mumbled Kyle. And for the first time in his life, Kyle Keeley wanted to check out a library book more than anything in the world. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm just sitting here thinking what that looks like. I just had this picture in my mind as I was reading that of this kiddo like hanging on to handles and then these ski boots strapping onto her. And then when she pushed in the numbers for where the book numbers are in the library, she just like levitated all the way up and over to where she was supposed to go. That would be so much fun. Can you imagine if Meadowlawn's library had those and it was really tall up in the air? I'd be checking out books as far up as I could get it just for the sake of doing that. That sounds way fun. I'm not sure how Mrs. Thompson would feel about us all floating through the library, but I don't know, might be fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're on to chapter 14. That's on page 67 for those of you who are just jumping in now. How about we work together, said Akemi when she sat down at Kyle's table. Kyle couldn't take his eyes off of Sierra Russell. She had drifted up about 25 feet and was leaning against the railings of her floating platform, completely lost in a new book. Hello? Earth to Kyle? Do you want somebody else to get first dibs on the Electronic Learning Center? No. Then focus. Okay, so how do we use our wits and the library to find dessert? Akimi nodded toward Miguel, whose fingers were dancing across the screen of his desktop's tablet computer. I think he's doing a search in the card catalog, whispered Akimi. Why? It's how you find stuff in a library, Kyle. I know that, but we're not looking for books about dessert. We need to find actual food. Andrew Peckelman stood up from his desk and sprinted up a wrought iron spiral staircase leading to the second floor. 2 seconds later, Charles Chiltington was sprinting up the staircase behind him. All the other players soon followed. Everybody was headed to the second floor and the Dewey Decimal rooms. Miguel finally popped up from his desk and made a mad dash for the nearest staircase. It's got to be up in the 600s, you guys, he called out to Kyle and Akimi. Thanks, said Kyle, but he still didn't budge from his seat. I guess the 600s is the Dewey Decimal category where you find books about desserts, said Akimi. Maybe we should... Wait a second, said Kyle. Kyle, in case you haven't noticed, you, me, and glider girl Sierra are the only ones still on this floor. And Sierra isn't really on the floor because she's floating. Hang on, Akimi. I have an idea. Kyle pulled out his floor plan. Dessert is probably hiding in plain sight, just like the bonus codes in Squirrel Squad. Follow me. Where to? The Book Nook Cafe. The one room in the library where, according to what Dr. Zinchenko told us back at the hotel, food and drinks are actually allowed. They strolled into the cozy cafe. Woohoo! Shouted Akimi. The walls were decorated with shelves of cookbooks, and several tables were loaded down with trays of cookies, cakes, ice cream, and fruit. That's why the curtains were closed behind the windows into the rotunda, said Akimi. So we couldn't see all this food. Way to go, Kyle! Kyle did his best imitation of Charles Tiltington. I'm Akili, Akimi. We never lose. Except, of course, when we don't win. After everyone had dessert, Kyle and Akimi were the first ones allowed to enter the Electronic Learning Center. Kyle flew the space shuttle, making an excellent landing on Mars before crashing into one of Saturn's moons. Akimi rode a horse with Paul Revere. Then Kyle learned how to drive a stick-shift stock car on the Talladega racetrack, while Akimi climbed into a tiny submarine to swim with sharks, dolphins, and sea turtles, all of which were projected on the glass walls of her undersea simulator. All the educational video games had 3D visuals, digital surround sound, and something new that Mr. Lemoncello was developing for his video games, smell-o-vision. When you sacked Rome with the Visigoths, you could smell the smoky scent of the burning city as well as the barbarians' B.O. After an hour, Dr. Zinchenko ushered everybody else into the Electronic Learning Center. They'd been watching George Washington debate George W. Bush. Both were audio animatronic dummies in the town square at the center of the 900s room. At 10 p.m., they all tromped into the IMAX theater, also on the third floor, to see a jukebox concert. 3D images of the world's best musicians, living and dead, performed their hits live. The best part was Mozart jamming with Metallica. Finally, around 3 in the morning, Clarence and his twin brother Clement came to escort the kids to their sleeping quarters. The boys would roll out their sleeping bags in the children's room just off the rotunda. The girls would be upstairs on the third floor in the boardroom. Charles Tiltington would be luxuriating all alone in Mr. Lemoncello's private suite. Exhausted from the excitement of the day and crashing after eating way too much sugar, Kyle slept like a baby. He only woke up because he heard music. Loud, blaring music. The theme song from that boxing movie, Rocky, his brother's, Mike's favorite. What's that? He mumbled, crawling out of his sleeping bag. Kyle glanced at his watch. It was 11 a.m. He figured the library lock-in was officially over, and this was the group's wake-up call. The music kept blaring. "This is how they wake up astronauts," groaned Miguel. "Turn it off," moaned Andrew Peckelman. Kyle slipped on his jeans and sneakers and staggered out into the giant reading room. "Dr. Zinchenko?" His voice echoed off the dome. No answer. "Clarence? Clement?" Nothing. The rocky music got louder. Akimi leaned in from the third floor balcony. "What's going on down there?" "I think they're trying to wake up astronauts," said Kyle. "On the moon!" He made his way to the front door and reached for the handle. It wouldn't budge. He jiggled it. Nothing. He jiggled harder. Still nothing. Kyle realized that the library lock-in might be over, but they were still locked in the library. Oh, what do you think about that? It sounded like a cool place, but I'm not sure how I would feel being locked in and not able to get out. I might be getting nervous. I don't know. How might you feel? Can you kind of feel that feeling when something different than you expected happens and you're not sure? Not sure maybe even about my safety. I'm not sure. I might be nervous. Let's see what happens. Chapter 15, ladies and gentlemen, and we are on page 72. "Everybody, please take your seats," Dr. Zinchenko said to the parents gathered in a conference room at the Parker House Hotel. "When do our kids come home?" asked one of the mothers. "Rose has soccer at 2, said another. The librarian nodded. "Mr. Lemoncello will—" Just then, an accordion panel door at the far end of the room flew open, revealing the eccentric billionaire dressed in a bright purple tracksuit and a plumed pirate hat. He was eating a slice of 7-layer birthday cake. "Good morning," or as they're currently saying in Reykjavik, "Gatsjörngay," which means good afternoon, because there is a 4-hour time difference between Ohio and Iceland, a fact I first learned spinning a globe in my local library. Mr. Lemoncello, his banana shoes burp squeaking, stepped out of a room filled with dozens of black and white television monitors, the kind security guards watch at their workstations. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this grand and auspicious day. Today I am pleased to announce the most marvelously stupendous game ever created. Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's library. The entire library will be the game board. Your children will be the game pieces. The winner will become famous all over the world." "How?" asked one of the fathers. "By starring in all of my commercials this holiday season. TV, radio, print, billboards. cardboard cutouts and toy stars, his or her face will be everywhere. Mrs. Daly raised her hand. Will they get paid? Oh, yes. In fact, you'll probably want to call me the giver. And what exactly does Haley have to do to win? Escape from the library. I thought the game's title more or less gave that bit away. Mr. Lemoncello tapped a button in his pirate hat, and an animated version of the library's floor plan was instantly displayed on the conference room's plasma screen TVs. Whoever is the first to use what they find in the library to find their way out of the library will be crowned the winner. Now then, the children cannot use the front door or the fire exits or set off any alarms. They cannot go out the way they went in. They can only use their wits, cunning, and intelligence to decipher clues and solve riddles that will eventually lead them to the location of the library's super secret alternate exit. And ladies and gentlemen, I assure you, such an alternate exit does indeed exist. The parents around the table started buzzing with excitement. Participation, of course, will be purely optional and voluntary, said Mr. Lemoncello, clasping his hands behind his back and stalking around the room. Several parents pulled out cell phones. And please do not attempt to phone, email, text, fax, or send smoke signals to your children, encouraging them to enter the competition. Excuse me. We have blocked all communication into and out of the library. Only those who truly wish to stay and play shall stay and play. Anyone who chooses to leave the library will go home with lovely parting gifts and a souvenir pirate hat very similar to mine. They'll also be invited to my birthday party tomorrow afternoon. He held up his crumb-filled plate. I've been sampling potential cake candidates for breakfast. Mrs. Keegan crossed her arms over her chest. Will this game be dangerous? No, said Mr. Lemoncello. Your children will be under constant video surveillance by security personnel in the library's control center. Dr. Zinchenko and I will also be monitoring their progress here in my private video viewing suite. Should anything go wrong, we have paramedics, firefighters, and a team of former Navy SEALs, each with the heart of a samurai, standing by to swoop in and rescue your children. It'll be like the Hunger Games, but with lots of food and no bows or arrows. Why not just have the kids play one of your other games? A parent suggested. Why all this fuss? Because, my dear friends, these 12 children have lived their entire lives without a public library. As a result, they have no idea how extraordinarily useful, helpful, and funful a word I recently invented. Oh, sorry. Let me read that sentence again. As a result, they have no idea how extraordinarily useful, helpful, and funful, a word I recently invented, a library can be. This is their chance to discover that a library is more than a collection of dusty old books. It is a place to learn, explore, and grow. Mr. Lemoncello, I think what you're doing is fantastic, said one of the mothers. Thank you, said Mr. Lemoncello, bowing and clicking his heels, which made them bruck like a chicken. If any of you would like to check up on your children, announced Dr. Zinchenko, please join us in the adjoining room. Oh, they're a lot of fun to watch, said Mr. Lemoncello. However, Mr. and Mrs. Keeley, I'm afraid your son Kyle does not enjoy the theme song from Rocky quite as much as I do. And that's the end of chapter 15. This is getting exciting. So these kids are in a game and they didn't even know it. How would you feel if you found yourself locked in this super cool library and now you're part of a game of trying to get out? I think it will be kind of fun. It sounds like they're safe, so that's a good thing. But what an exciting, exciting day they're going to have. Can't wait to keep reading tomorrow. So thanks for reading with me tonight, you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful night. We'll see you all at school.